Hi, everybody. My name is Janani, and above my name is a perfect circle. Now, it may not be an actually perfect circle, especially if my Apple software is lying to me. But for our eyes and purposes, it is a perfect circle. Now, circles and spheres, they're all built from these principles of equivalent distance, right? Every point equidistant from some point at the center. And they're also how we've come to imagine things that are the largest and smallest in our universe, as small as subatomic particles and as large as the expanse of the vast cosmos itself. Now, while that may not actually be the case, these things are not necessarily spheres and circles. I think that drive to represent, to grab onto devices that build structure and metaphor, to understand things that are out of scale for us because they're either too large or too small, to me, that drive is as much about art and faith as it is about physics and mathematics. So today, I'm going to attempt to build a unified theory of art and everything that's somewhat earnest and halfway logical. And I hope it's one that pays homage to the perfection and ideal curvature of a circle, but also frees us from its perimeters. So, first thing I want to do is take us to a very classic and very gruesome thought experiment. So arguably, Schrodinger's cat, pictured here, after Garfield and Grumpy Cat, is the most famous cat in the world. But instead of being known for eating lasagna or having mood swings, Schrodinger's cat is known for being dead. So Schrodinger's cat, because it's a star of a thought experiment, is definitely a fictional cat, but I hope by the end of this talk you acknowledge that Schrodinger's cat is about as fictional or real as you or me. So this cat is the brainchild of Erwin Schrodinger, shown here, who, like me, because of his glasses and his name, was destined to be a nerd. And in the 20th century, he was a physicist and philosopher, and came up with this thought experiment that works something like this. So you are a scientist as well as a sociopath. So you put a cat inside a box with a very tiny, tiny amount of radioactive substance, which has a 50-50% chance of decay, okay? There's a Geiger counter in the box, pictured here also, and when the atom does decay, 50% chance, the Geiger counter releases a hammer which shatters a flask, which releases some deadly gas, and the cat dies. Sad. So what Schrodinger's cat thought experiment is trying to do is reconcile what's happening at the quantum level, the scale of radioactivity, this atom, with what's happening at the macroscopic level, which is where you, me, and the cat all live. And something that you need to know about the quantum level, the quantum world, is that nothing really happens without an observer. Picks or it didn't happen. That's how you can think about it. And another thing that you need to know is that the quantum world is probabilistic, right? The atom or the area around an atom, for instance, is not a set of definite positions, but rather a horizon of possibilities. So basically, for this cat's sake, what it means is that until you, this sociopathic scientist, look inside the box, the cat is both dead and alive. But until at the moment that you do take a gander to see what's happening, the cat becomes either dead or alive. Weird. One way of explaining this is the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics, right? Which basically says that anything that can happen does happen. It just happens in another universe, another timeline. So in this cat's case, the cat is dead in certain timelines and alive in another. So if there are many, many universes, anything that can happen does happen. It stands to reason that there are basically infinite universes in this thing called a multiverse. Universes that are made of candy, for instance, universes where the Earth doesn't exist, right? Universes where you and I, for some reason, just don't exist. Universes where you all start spontaneously laughing. Universes where Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Van crash into Lincoln Theater. Cool. Universes that might inexplicably look like this. So now, I'm going to ask you all to make a big jump with me. Big jump. Art is other universes. Specifically, art is both a portal to and depiction of other universes. So something I've been trying to understand through the process of writing fiction is that feeling you get when what you're writing is obviously fictional but feels so vitally true. Or that there is something tremendous that you're tapping into that doesn't seem entirely of our world, right? I think it's for this reason that art is other universes. Wow. Uh, the role of artists and scientists and mathematicians alike, and those of us who are at the intersection of those things, is to comment on, represent, and create from our reality. But in doing so, I believe that we expand our collective access to other realities. In this sense, the artist's role becomes physicist, historian, critic, and even God, like this guy. Through rigorous world building in this reality, we create the possibility for other realities to arise. So in that sense, we're kind of in the position of the quantum observer, right? Where witnessing and creation, in fact, become the same act. So another thing that we know about the quantum world is that matter is constantly going on vacation, flitting off to places that we don't understand or know, somewhere unexplored. I think it's the role of those of us who are in maybe science fiction and folklore in particular to go to those places and then bring something back. Whether that thing is an object, a technology, a paradigm, or a possibility. And I think that might also be the reason that so many of us write stories where these heroes go on these long quests, because this is the role that we ourselves, in fact, are kind of adopting. So that's why I love sharing this little story about Beauty and the Beast, the original Beauty and the Beast, which was penned in the 18th century by Gabriel Suzanne de Villeneuve. In the story, there are many things that I love about it, but one thing that really sticks with me is this scene where Belle is in a room full of windows, each one offering different entertainments. And she successively goes through them and chooses what she's going to watch that day. You all might experience this as Netflix, or in general as television. Now, there have been people before Villeneuve who've penned stories where a character has looked at screens, right? But this story in particular is so iconic that it no doubt filtered into the consciousness of people who would later create the electronic television. I think the same can maybe be said for Star Trek and the creation of the iPhone or iPad. So these days, I've been working on a series of books about sleep and dreams, and along the way, I've been stumbling over lots of, actual science. It's really fun when you write science fiction and you figure out some real science. It feels like you have a laboratory in your head. But it's also amazing and tremendous, I think, to create some of that science from scratch, because that's the stuff that prepares us for those inevitable days and moments when the physics and chemistry and biology and whatnot that we've come to rely on fails us or betrays us, which it will. And I'm not certain what I'm going to be bringing back from my particular quest into these dream worlds yet, but I feel calm and collected knowing that through it all, Schrodinger's cat watches over us, reminding us that none of us are either fictional or real, dead or alive, and that this business of art making that we're up to is at once tremendously serious and very funny. Thank you.